Hello, in this video, we are going to be diving into mat expressions. This can get a little complicated, but once it's understood, it is a really simple, powerful feature in Store Machine. We are going to create a dynamic health bar that decreases every time we press the blue button. To do this first, we're going to set up a button that you can click on. Then make that button update the text that tells you how much life you have left. And then make the same value appear as Cave Life Bar. To make all this work, we are going to use variables and Mac expressions. We have this set up from our previous video where we were talking about wares. If you're interested in that one, please check out the link to that video in the description below. First, when you can make this button do something when you click it, we want this btn object to respond when clicked. We will start by selecting the btn object and then add an clickable. Set the action type to click and the click on head. And then that sets up the button to respond to a click and opens the action list that will run when the button is clicked though. We want this button to cause the player's health to go down by 20%. We can track the health as a value between 0 and 1 with the scene variable health. When this button is clicked, we need to change the health variable. And so to do that, we will create a set variable action to the target variable. You will choose the scene variable health. The set variable action sets the value of the variable. You can use it to set a variable to a number, but the more interesting way we think to use it is to write a mat expression into the expression field. This expression will be evaluated when the action runs. In the expressions field, we will enter health minus 0.2. This formula subtracts 0.2 or 20% from the health variable when the button is pressed. Now, add a check variable action to monitor our health variable. This command lets us check the value of a variable and run some actions based on what we find. So what we want to do here is change the text that explains how much health is left based on the health variable. We will do that in 2 steps. First, we will check to see if the variable equals a certain health amount, and if it does, we will update the text box with the proper amount. In the check variable action, select health of the variable, set the value to 0.8, and set the method to equal. This will check if their health variable equals 0.8, which would mean that the button has been clicked one time. When our health matches 0.8, we want to make a change. Click on Edit in the Action to Run on Match field. This means that if health is equal to 0.8, we'll run a new set of actions. Inside the new action editor that opens, let's include a set text action. We're setting up the text to change dynamically when the health value changes to provide visual feedback to the player. Drag the HP text game object from the Objects tab into the target text box field. It specifies which text box to change. Since we will be checking for a health value of 0.8, let's update the text key accordingly, and we'll change it to 80. Now, we've already added text keys for this project to the TextSpec database. As you can see, there is a list of possible entries we could use. That one called 80 just contains the number 80. Okay, we want to set this up for other health values as well. We have already done the work for one set, so let's streamline the process and save time by replicating that work. We will duplicate it 4 times, and then we will edit each one for different health values. We can copy and paste this action by right-clicking on the mouse and control-clicking if we're on a Mac. The other health values that we want are 0.6, 0.4, 0.2, and 0. We will edit the value field for each replicated action to be 0.6, 0.4, 0.2, and 0 respectively. This sequence of checks will run every time the button is clicked. The actions attached to each check will only run if the variable matches the value that we have specified there. In each action to run on match list, align the text key to match their respective values. 0.6 to 60, 0.4 to 40, 0.2 to 20, and 0 to 0. This way, The text will update every time the variable shrinks by 20%. Since we subtract 0.2 from that variable every time we click, we should see the text update with every click. Okay, so now let's check our progress so far. Click on Run and then Play. When we click the button, the text updates. We can also see that the help variable is changing here in the variables window. Cool. It seems that updating the text is working correctly, but we're obviously missing the visual feedback from the health bar itself. So let's address that. Like in the text, we want the bar to shrink every time the health variable changes. Instead of changing a text box, we will adjust the size of the red bar to reflect the current health value. Now, our button should really only function if our health system is greater than 0. That is, when we are out of health, the button should do anything. We will incorporate one final check variable action. We will check if the health value is greater than 0 to determine when the button should take away some health. Select health as the variable, set the value to 0, and choose the greater than method. When the button is clicked, the actions in the action to run on match window will execute as long as health has not dropped all the way to 0. Okay, within the action to run on match field, quick edit. We could just put all the actions for adjusting the life bar into the action window attached to that last check variable action. However, it is generally a good practice to split up the actions across objects so that they can be replaced or reused easily. So instead of putting a bunch of new actions there, we will put the actions that manage the life bar on the life bar object itself and trigger those actions from the check variable. Look at the same trigger action. This will trigger a response in our bar1 game object when we click the blue button and while the health is greater than 0. And the same trigger action and for the target object drag bar1 game object. Now, this action sends a trigger to the bar1 object, but we also need to do some setup to respond to the trigger on that object. So we will come back to that in a minute. Before we get into the life bar actions, let's incorporate a few additional actions to enhance the visuals, starting with a shake screen action. Use these values as a base. It causes the whole screen to shake. With these sames, it will shake for a tenth of the second, and the motion will be fairly dramatic. You can come back to this action later and try adjusting the values if you want to test other things out. Those settings are going to give us a short, hard visual jolt. Next, we will include 2 enable-disabled actions and insert a wait action in between them. Those actions will turn a few objects on for a short beat and then hide them again. When they combine with the screen shake, it will look like damage has been inflicted. For the first enable-disabled action, designate bar2 as the target object and then enable it. This white bar will flash the moment the player takes damage. Set the seconds to wait field to 0.05 for the wait action. We only want that white bar to be visible for a split second. Any wait time of 0.05 seconds is very, very quick. For the final enable disable action, target bar 2 and disable it. This will make the white bar disappear completely, completing the flashing effect. Hit the play and see what the screen shake and bar 2 flash look like. Okay, now let's finish up setting the health bar itself. Navigate to the bar1 game object and from the add menu, select event receiver. We are setting up an event receiver on bar1 to handle the triggers set the moment the player presses the blue button. Configure the event type to trigger and proceed to edit. This means that when the object receives a trigger, it will run the actions listed here. The event receiver is a very common component and has several different events it can handle. When the life bar receives a trigger, we want it to shrink a little. To not just snap, where you actually want it to animate so that you can see that it's shrinking. Now let's incorporate an animate action to bring life to bar 1. We are animating bar 1 could visually represent changes to the player's health. Assign bar 1 as a target object to be animated. Set target to scale packs, which will horizontally animate the scale of the object. Choose linear as the type, making the animation speed consistent. once for the look time to avoid animation repeating, duration of 0.5 seconds, and last health as the start value and health as the end value. The start value will keep track of the current health, and the end value controls what the health value is after the player presses the button. So the bar scales accordingly. This actually shrink the size of the bar by animating the horizontal scale. The way we have it set up will take a half a second to scale down, which should give the bar a really nice motion. Now let's add a set variable action to the action list for the trigger event receiver. We do not want this new set variable action to actually run until the animation we set up has been completed. Click the little arrow icon on the bottom right of the end of the action to change it into a cloth icon. It means wait for this action to finish before continuing. Configuring the target variable as last health, and in the expression field, input health. This just sets the last health variable to what the health variable is. So that way, the next time the button is clicked, we will know how much the health has changed and animate the bar accordingly. Okay, close all the action list windows and let's put our work to the test. Click run and then hit play to see how everything comes together. And if we have it, we have created a health bar that when we press the button, our health decreases, our screen shakes, and the button doesn't work once our health is at 0. Very good. Thank you for watching.